Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dive into a single, really wide-ranging interview that covers, well, everything from UAPs and government secrets, all the way to a specific doctrine for handling global adversaries. We're breaking down Senator Marco Rubio's take on a world that, from this perspective, is getting more and more dangerous.
All right, let's kick things off with what is maybe the most unconventional topic of them all: unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs. You've got these high-level officials coming forward making claims about secret government programs, and it's creating a huge dilemma.
In this quote, it really just nails the central problem here. The argument is, when you have people like admirals, generals, and decorated pilots making these extraordinary claims, you're left with very few possibilities. I mean, think about it. If they're not telling the truth, that means people in critical national security roles are either liars or they're unstable. And either one of those is a massive problem in itself.
But here's where the whole conversation takes a really sharp turn. The main concern here isn't about little green men. No, it's about something way more immediate and, frankly, a lot more scary. The possibility that a foreign adversary, like China or Russia, has developed some kind of breakthrough surveillance tech, and we've completely missed it.
So this really gets to the heart of what's called an asymmetric threat. The idea is, we're up there scanning the skies for the usual suspects, missiles, fighter jets, things we expect to see. But what if an enemy is getting a massive strategic advantage with something we're not even programmed to look for? Like, say, super advanced drones or high-altitude surveillance balloons?
Okay, so from these kinds of unknown external threats, the conversation pivots to some really complex internal challenges, and it focuses specifically on the problem of vetting Afghan nationals who are brought to the U.S.
And right off the bat, the interview lays out a pretty stark reality. No matter how tough your process is, there's just no such thing as a perfect vet. It's simply not possible. And that means there are inherent, unavoidable, and pretty serious risks.
And it really boils down to three huge challenges. So first, you've got the information problem. I mean, you can only vet what's actually on paper, which is a massive hurdle in places torn apart by war. Second, you can screen someone's past, but you can't see into their future. There's no way to know what they might do. And third, and this is a big one, someone can arrive with a totally clean record and then get radicalized by online propaganda years after they've settled into the country.
All right, so from there, the discussion really zooms out to identify the specific adversaries and hostile ideologies that are seen as the biggest threats to the United States right now. So, three main threats get put on the table. First is the overarching ideology of radical Islam. And second, you've got two hostile countries, Iran and Venezuela. But the key idea here is that these last two, they aren't separate problems. They're actually deeply connected.
So get this, Venezuela's government isn't even described as a legitimate government. It's painted as a criminal enterprise. The claim is that its main job is to act as a middleman, a transshipment organization that helps move cocaine from Colombia right into the United States.
And this is where those two threats, Iran and Venezuela, supposedly link up. The argument is that Iran has basically planted its flag right here in our hemisphere by setting up a strategic presence inside Venezuela, all with the full cooperation of the Maduro regime. Okay, so after laying out all these threats, the interview doesn't just stop at diagnosing the problems. It actually proposes a pretty specific foreign policy doctrine for how to deal with them.
And this doctrine is presented as, a middle path. It's not about being an isolationist and hiding from the world, but it's also not about being an adventurer, jumping into every fight and starting these forever wars.
So how does it work in practice? Well, it's laid out as the simple three-step framework. Step 1, you have to define the national interest. You ask, is this really vital to America's safety and prosperity? Step 2, define the outcome. What is the exact goal we want to achieve? And step 3, execute with limited specific action. How do we use precise force to get that result and then get out, avoiding another long, drawn-out conflict?
And a hypothetical strike on Iran was given as a perfect example of this in action. Picture this. B-2 bombers take off from the U.S., fly a single 24-hour mission, destroy a specific nuclear target, and then fly right back home. Clear objective, focused power. No boots on the ground, no long-term entanglement.
All right, for the final piece of this, the conversation shifts to applying this exact same deal-making approach to the biggest conflict on the globe right now, the war in Ukraine.
Now, to really hammer home the urgency of finding a way to end this war, a pretty staggering number was thrown out there. The claim that Russia is losing 7,000 soldiers every single week. That is just an unimaginable human cost.
And from this viewpoint, it makes continuing the war seem totally illogical.
So, what would a successful peace deal even look like? Well, 4 key goals were put on the table. It's not just about stopping the bullets from flying. It's about getting real security guarantees for Ukraine so this doesn't happen again, protecting its sovereignty for the long haul, and giving its economy a real chance to recover and thrive.
And ultimately, the argument presented is that a deal like this is only possible if you have a leader who is actually willing to talk to both sides, to both Kyiv and Moscow. You just can't broker peace, the thinking goes, if you're only talking to one of the people in the fight.
And so, all of this really leaves us with the central question that this entire worldview poses. When you're facing down everything from asymmetric threats and vetting dilemmas to hostile states and brutal wars, is a doctrine of clear-eyed, interest-based deal-making really the answer? And that's the big question we'll leave you with.